Hi everyone, it's Natalie, and I'm here because I want to talk about a new deck that's, not exactly that new to me, but is, it's one I've had for a little while, and I mistakenly thought that it had gone out of print. And I realized when Tom Benjamin did a walkthrough of it that it was in fact not out of print, and it was instead widely, not widely available. What am I saying? It's an indie deck. It is available, and I just made a mistake. And when I realized that, I thought, oh, I've really got to amend that mistake and get this deck out there. And then I got overwhelmed. Interestingly, in the maze of that overwhelm in the last month, really not so much even an overwhelm as an onslaught, but in the midst of that, the last week or so, this particular deck has really been calling to me, and yesterday or the day before, I finally picked it up and started going through it and really looking more deeply at it, and contemplating it more deeply. And I'm intending, I think, to make a deep dive into this deck over the next month, because I realized something very important about my journey with the tarot, which is that I'm most fascinated and most drawn at this moment to understanding the unique journey that other people have had through the tarot and through through life, because the two are really pretty inseparable. And I'm really curious. I'm deeply curious. Like, what did someone else experience? Because I feel like I've had my own spiritual journey that I've realized in the time since could most easily be described through the tarot. And yet I don't feel a need personally to create a deck. And I don't know how to explain that. I have a need to create decks. I have a need to write. But I don't have a need to create another tarot deck. But I cannot get enough of, decks created by those who have taken a really deep look at themselves, and a deep look at what the tarot is in terms of their own life experience, their own spiritual journey. And I really have a need to be with that deeply. So that said, and pardon the coughing, I'm getting over this bronchitis, but here is the Pholarchos Tarot by Carmen Sorrenti. And this is a remarkable deck. It's just remarkable. It's published by Arnell art. So let's see if I can get it up nice and close here. There is her website at the bottom, Carmen's website and Arnell's website, and it was just published last year. And I really regret that I didn't engage this deck a lot sooner, but I also recognize that I couldn't have, either. I knew I had to get it. I knew I needed it. As I was beginning to clear decks on my shelf, I thought, wow, I know that I don't want to let go of this one. And I remember even when I opened the box, I thought, wow, I don't even know if I'm going to use this deck. And then suddenly last week, I was drawn to it, and I would dream about it at night and wake up in the day and be like, oh, I need to go look at that deck. And then I'd forget because life. And I guess about 2 days ago, I picked it up, and I've been kind of obsessed with it in the time since. So you'll know Arnell Art's work publishing decks, because she also published the Dark Goddess Tarot by Ellen Lorenzi Prince, and this is another deck that I think I could never let go of for similar reasons. There is something completely unique and striking about this particular deck that it connects to something in me that's really moving and pretty wonderful. So that said, I want to do a look at the deck. You know, the Arnell's publishing, I really love. I think she does a remarkable job of it. You know, the inside of the box is still pretty plain. You know, it's not lined, but the box itself is still pretty sturdy, and it's really well done. You know, it's really well done. And then on the inside we have the guidebook. And I figured also I'd better film this before the guidebook starts to become trashed, because that tends to be what happens with my books. I'm so sorry. I'm also thinking I might just scan and print all of the pages of the book so that I can actually scribble all over them without having, you know, I like to have like a clean copy if I can and a trashed copy. Really, here's how bad it is. Like, I have, you know, my Mary L. Deck's books. This is the second edition, and I've really kind of, even though I'll be getting another one whenever they publish it, I've really kind of left this one clean so that I can just look at it. Whereas with this one, you know, I've written in and underlined and put in all kinds of extra. What are some of the ones I've been really, like, I've had some deep dives with a few cards this month. So as you can see, like, where that's happened. The King of Wands is, oh yeah, and the King of Swords have both just become a complete mess. But, you know, that is how I work and how I operate. So I've realized I probably just need to get a copy of this one made so that I can trash it and write all over it, but have a clean copy of the book, because I even thought about like just disassembling this one, and I don't know, because I'm nuts. But that's also just how I learn and understand things. So the book itself is really beautiful. It's shiny and colorful. It has full color pictures of some of the cards, not all of them, you know, here or there throughout. And then this is the back of the cards. Again, just, you know, very simple box. Let's just have a look. I love these quotes. Preside over the mysteries, so they make a map for you. And then for each wave of becoming, there's a mystery of origin, which is wonderful. Something else, you know, is that every time Arnell sends a deck to me, there are always these beautiful, like, stamp stickers. Like, here's the tower from this deck, and this one is from the Dark Goddess. And I save these. I don't know quite what I'm intending to do with them necessarily. Like, that was a little thank you note that she wrote. But I can't let go of them. I know that. Some of them end up in my journal and stuff, but yeah. So here is the back of the card. This is really the only thing that I feel uncertain about. I know that this is not a deck necessarily to be read with reversals and things. It's just not that kind of deck. And you know, it's apparent to me that that's how she created it. That said, I can't help but wonder what is in the center of her forehead. I think it's like crystals. But there's something in me that finds that like morbidly kind of gross in a way that makes me want to stick my finger in and pick at it or something. I don't know. But aside from that, I actually really love the drawing on the back of the cards. So I have edged the cards in black. I really debated what to do with the edging of them, but I knew I wanted to seal them, and I realized because the borders of all of them are black on the front, probably black was a safe option that doesn't destroy the integrity or add too much visual confusion to the deck, which is already very visually startling in many, many ways. So without getting too heavily into it, I think I should probably just try to walk you through. and then kind of tell you a little bit more about how this is structured. So, or what I'm seeing in the structure so far, I guess. But here's the Fool. And actually, this is probably not a bad place to start with just introducing some things about the structure of the deck. I love this Fool card for so many reasons. Not least of which is just her perspective of why the Fool is the way it is. She says in here, you know, the unconscious speaks in dreams, and within this terrain we alchemize our being. Will you follow your dream guide across the tracks? So she is seeing the Fool as the dream guide. You sit unsuspecting under the white pine as the snake slips into your ear. The vital force, whose knowledge is unsurpassed, takes you through the varied ends of consciousness, this your pilgrimage to life. Where will vision and swift feet take you? So the way that she's looking at it is that, you know, this Fool here is representing that part of our being that takes us into that journey. It takes us into a journey of the subconscious, the unconscious mind, and into a greater sense of realization. So this deck is very much about internal alchemy, very much rooted in Jungian psychology. It's very deep. I mean, this is a deck written by somebody and created by somebody who's done a tremendous amount of work on herself, and has a great understanding of both alchemy and Jungian psychology. So where those two things are overlapping in the tarot for her is really astounding. Something else that occurs to me that we'll see throughout the deck is that she's also a theater creator and a theater practitioner. So I remember reading the article about her, which I haven't read for a little while, and we actually have a lot of overlapping training and background in theater. And I'm starting to notice there's so many overlaps between tarot and theater, and I'm really fascinated by that and very curious about what that is. Hodorovsky was very similar. He had a background working in mime and physical theater. I mean, it's a very specific, it seems to be a very specific type of theater practitioner that gets into this. So those of us who've studied, you know, specifically in a French style of physical theater, mime, theater creation, and so on, seem to have this draw toward this system. And I'm really wondering what that is. Keeping in mind, too, Pamela Coleman Smith was also a theater practitioner. So there's a lot, you know, there's a lot here that is fascinating to me on many levels. So on we go. On we go. All right. So the Magician. So the Magician in Carmen's view is both masculine and feminine. And so the way she chose to represent that is through a two-headed, mixed-gendered being. So it's not intended to be a man and a woman so much as a man and woman as a united being. And then inside of each of their cups, there is this wolf baying at the moon. And I believe there's a dragon in this one. You know, there's a ton of symbolism. It's remarkable. They're packed. The cards are packed. Full, very full. The High Priestess as a cave dweller. An alchemical cave dweller. Yeah, I mean, I could give us, I may do a series of videos actually about this deck, so I should just kind of keep walking through here. We have the Empress. She makes some kind of a comment about the infinite roses that grow in her heart. And today when I'm filming this, I also would like to point out, I just saw Kasia from Tarot Map interviewing, I I'm so embarrassed that I don't remember that person's name. Actually, I'm not actually that embarrassed. I'm horrified for the person, because her work is so good, that I can't quite remember her name. But yeah, Cassia just interviewed the creator of the deck with all of those roses in it. And I was thinking of that this morning and connecting it here. And the Emperor. Again, she's got a very specific, unique take on the Emperor. She does on every one of them. The Hierophant is, again, yeah, I mean, okay, so the Hierophant kind of caught me off guard. I thought, I'm not really sure how to interpret this. So, before the temple, mosque, synagogue, church, the caves were homes to sacred ritual, a lair of wonder. This creature keeps track of our religious languages. Through her body, the phoenix is reborn again and again, made of chlorophyll and philosophy. She balances all potential on a spiral of manifestation, hears the red and white snakes as they mingle in the space of her understanding. Preside over the mysteries so they may make a map for you. So, wow. I love that. It's just such a unique take. And it really kind of, it's not that it rubbed me raw or the wrong way. When I first pulled this deck out, it was just so, it was that I felt I couldn't quite get where she was coming from, and that's fine, because that was just not, it was just not the timing for me to pick it up and work with it. The Lovers, I think, is not going to be too foreign to most of us. You know, it's a dance of understanding, you know, what the preconceived idea is that we have about each of the cards, and then being curious to know, okay, where is the creator's vision of this card coming from? And I'm infinitely fascinated by that. Justice is a very complicated card that I don't quite understand yet. But that feels and looks to me like she is a theater creator backstage. And I can't quite justify that with the text that's in the book yet, but it has that feel. The Hermit, and the Hermit has this beautiful creature, you know, that's on the back of the cards. I'm trying to remember what her take was on the Hermit. I'm still just kind of getting these in, and they're not straightforward. You know, she's written this very poetically. Furrowed, dogged Saturn, gnarly as a tree and just as wise, call on the old goat foot within you, deep within. He governs what seems permanent, bones, architecture, and the contours of your incarnation. Everything you build upon, from here, if you negotiate, you may travel your soul to the matrix of stars, the patterns spiraling in and out of form. The farther you would travel out, the farther you must travel in. Discover what is needed and what is possible. Anchor well and let nothing stop you. So, yeah. Yeah. And again, I could spend an awful lot of time just going through these. Wheel of Fortune. Whoop. Strength is wonderful. The more I read about the Strength card, you know, some of them, like all decks, they're really immediate, and other ones require a great deal more time to absorb and really get into. This one, at first, I remembered thinking, oh no, it's upside down, until I picked it up and went, oh, no, it's the Hanged One. Really beautiful. So there's a vibe about this deck that reminds me a lot of the Marielle. I think it's making that kind of noise because of working with the Sharpie. It did not have that noise originally. And this is Death. and Temperance. And she pays a lot of attention to the idea of alchemical process within the individual. And obviously this is a very shadowy deck. I love this devil. I really get this devil. I really feel like I've lived this experience. I'm going to read it because I think a lot of people will probably feel that way about this one. Her tears have been falling for years. She does not know the real cause, cannot see what is taking big bites out of her like Viennese pastry. Caught in a configuration of obsession and unrelenting as let me start that one again. Caught in a configuration of obsession, unrelenting as hail pounding at the window. Caught, according to a legend somewhere in the regions of Shangri-La, the peacock would eat and transmute the lethal berries into the colors of its tail. Can you bear to dance with your shadow, hold it close till it transforms into the riches of your being? This is the core of alchemy. So, knowing and understanding, this could, obviously, in the wrong hands, in the wrong mindset, this devil card could cause distress. And then, for those who are doing this work and actively engaging it, or who want to do this work or who have done this work, this image is understandable instantly, I think. So, yeah, it is a very, it's dark. This is not an easy deck. The Tower card is why I bought it. So this particular, I think I've got two, yeah. The Tower card is ultimately what sold me in this tarot deck, because that was, my own alchemical internal journey. This is what I felt. This is very much how I experienced it. Whether it's moving through from below or from above, or really splitting you apart or making you whole, is hard to know at that moment, yeah. And again, this is a deck that I would not necessarily want to use with anyone else. I feel like it's probably a very personal deck, a deck that is not necessarily to be shared, or for me anyway, or used with other people, but I don't know. I would have maybe said that about the Marielle initially, and now I read for it with it like all the time, maybe every day, in addition to other ones. So here we have the Star. I tried to touch up some of these cards with the Sharpie on the back, and I kind of did a disservice. Anyway, it will only serve to make the deck more mine. So here is the Moon with the beautiful labyrinth and the barn owls. And that mountain path. I don't know if you can see this mountain path up here. It's just exquisite. One of the best cards in the deck, really. One of my favorites. The Sun, which we normally look at as being a very light card. Again, we have a lot of darkness here. And I feel like I want to just kind of go into that one for a minute as well. So the Sun, take your song to Apollo, for he is the essence of the light. This is how the story goes. He was born on Delos, an island aptly named the Unconcealed One. It is used to be a barren perch with no name and no fixed placement. A wanderer in the stormy, windy waves till the birth. In the inner heart lies the gold, and we have learned to conceal it. Make Delos. Here's a quest encouraging you to find the hidden elixir, the unconcealed one. It surges you upwards into the elated world, now bright with substance. Give yourself to the inner marriage. Whatever you do in this life, find your essence and be true to it. So what we're seeing in this card is the process, right? So we've got this raven here helping to hold and conceal the sun within, the gold within, and then we see it emerging and bringing her light, beginning to shine forth out of her, as she is becoming this alchemical, realized being, which is, I mean, just exquisite. Here we have Judgment. And it's very much what it looks like. You know, we have this awakened heart with roses, kind of like we saw back with the Empress. We have more snakes, and snakes come in, you know, into the deck from all over the place, and they're very much a part of it, as are birds, owls, etc. And finally, the World. And the World card I'm going to read as well, because, oh my gosh, it's just so good. So she says here of the World: a blue embrace of stratosphere, the anima mundi's pregnant belly, the tree of life grows the network of belonging. At dawn, the raven comes to call on you, his gaze palpable, the sheen of his coat moist. Follow his traces to another room. Look out, soar. Pelicans fly up from the trees and above, and we have a laughing fit. A bird comes out of a book into a bowl with a map design. Favorite stone, diamond. Favorite metal, copper. Eagle, air, water, dancer. Finally, you can admit what it is. Presence of fertility everywhere. Red is for coming to life. Sacrum, Mars. We live in a world of correspondences. We only think we are alone. All the dreaming has been aligning this new birth. So, you know, from start to finish in this deck, you know, we have the birth. We have the birth of an alchemically altered, united soul that happens in the most wonderful of ways. So you can see, like, this is a woman here. I mean, this took me a while to decode, like, visually. It's very subtle. It really requires you to be pulled and drawn in to see it properly. Yeah. So there we are. That is the major arcana of the Pholarchos Tarot. Let's see, I'll just walk them back through. I just feel that it's not, you know, in a deck like this, it's really just not enough to kind of show the cards, walk it through, and go, that's interesting. I wonder how we evaluate it. If you have a sense of how to look at it and evaluate it, and you don't share that, I feel like it's just not doing the deck, it's doing the deck a disservice not to do that. You know, not to go in and look deeply at what's taking place here. And really, when I see people capable, you know, this capable of sharing and honoring their own journey and their own process in their work, it really feels to me like it is worthy of being noted for what it is. And I don't have that level of honor and respect for this journey in my own life in the form of it being seen or noted. It's something that upsets and bothers my family and the people around me. And I feel a need to really honor that, you know, I have to seek, I guess I should say, I need to seek honor for it other places. So when I see that someone else is taking that journey and undertaking that journey, being able to honor that and recognize it and call it what it is a way I have of honoring my own. So, yeah. So I'll come back shortly in another video, and we'll look at the minors and the courts. All right, everybody. Thank you. See you next time.